Welcome to CivilNet's rooftop. I have a very special guest, friend, joining me here. He is an artist, a poet, an author, a comedian, an actor, an all-around interesting person, Vahe Berberian. Vahe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're 24 years old, you and I, combined. And for most of our audience looking at us now, viewing us, would say you're not 24 years old. But we are in a way. Armenia is celebrating its 24th year of independence. For our generation, growing up in the diaspora, Soviet Union, the Cold War, I don't know about you, but did we ever really imagine the possibility of having an independent homeland in the 70s, early 80s? And now we do. What does that mean for you?
I would say first and foremost a whole lot of responsibility, because with independence comes a profound sense of responsibility, or the need to feel responsible, because no one's going to take care of you. You're on your own. It's like that when you're growing up, you know. In the moment you're left on your own, you realize that you can't be as reckless as you were, and you're accountable for your actions. And interestingly enough, the accountability comes through yourself. You are accountable to yourself for your own actions. I think that's what's important.
Take me back, if you will, to your frame of mind, where you were both physically, intellectually, spiritually, in 1988 when the Qarabağ movement began, because that was what, for us, is associated with independence. That's what triggered the movement. What did you think when you first saw the images or heard about the demonstrations?
First off, I don't think, at least not me or anybody else around me, realized that this was the prologue for independence, and we were just. It was the first time. And interestingly enough, it came at a time where we were all sort of conscious of Armenia's existence with the earthquake and with the Qarabağ movement. I think it was an existential thing, you know, like in existentialism, when you feel pain, you feel alive. You know, I think Dostoevsky's from Notes from Underground, that's the first line. Have you ever heard the scream of the 20th century intellectual suffering from a toothache? Mm-hmm. You know, the pain, it makes you feel alive, and that's what it was for us. We realized that we are a country, and we are a nation, and because of the pain of the earthquake, and because of what was happening with Qarabağ, we were experiencing existential pains, and we were feeling more alive than ever. Ironically. Yeah.
And now 24 years later, after 1991, September 21, I was at a conference in the United States where you were also you were presenting a paper, and you said something that has stuck with me, and it's a sentiment that I oftentimes share as well, although I'm not sure how to articulate it, but you articulated it in a way that resonated. I think that particularly in the diaspora, the Armenian nation continues to suffer the ramifications of denial of the Armenian genocide, and that has become our raison d'être in the diaspora. That has become the thing we identify ourselves with. And you said, you know, sometimes we seem to carry 1.5 million people on our backs, and yet we forget the 3 million who are alive in the Republic of Armenia.
Absolutely.
You still stand by those?
Oh yes. Personally, I don't think we're in a very healthy state of being right now. I mean, the fact that we have a country and we're suffering economically, we're suffering, our infrastructures are not there as they need to be. People are leaving, the whole immigration thing. So in a lot of ways, we're imagine someone who's sick and he's telling you how he was about to die 100 years ago. You know, like, well, you're dying now. You know, you have to be healthy now. You know, you can't. And this is, it's. Look, I come from a family of survivors. My father was 1 year old during the genocide. You know, I grew up on my grandmother's lap, who had experienced profound sorrow because of the loss of her daughters, her mother, her entire family. You know. And I'm not the one who will say, oh, forgive and forget, and you know, let's just move on. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that the challenges we have right now are so immense that to dwell on the genocide and the recognition of the genocide, because this is the recognition. I really don't care who recognizes, who doesn't recognize at this point. You know, it happened, you know, and I don't need your confirmation in order to feel that, see, I told you it happened. You know, I don't need it. I really don't need it, because it's such a waste of energy and time. But for me, the most important thing is did we survive? At what cost? And are we going to survive? You know, are we, and what do we do in order to make this survival worthwhile? For me, that's the most important thing.
You've been here now for almost 2 months working on a project. You're welcome to talk about it if you want or not. And I don't know if this is the longest sort of stretch of time you've spent here in Yerevan, and in the regions I also suspect. Looking at Armenia from the outside is one thing, hearing the stories is one thing, looking at it from rose-colored glasses or from dark-colored glasses. You've been living and working, breathing, acting. What has that experience been like? What has it taught you about Armenia? Or maybe it hasn't taught you anything.
Yeah, this is the longest stretch for me, and I can tell you, like, I'm in love with this city. I've been here many times, but this is the first time that I have developed this tie, this rapport with this city. And I'm seriously thinking that I can live here. I can. And working here has been an incredible experience. I've met some wonderful people, especially some beautiful young people who are full of energy, who are willing to learn, and they're willing to give it all. You know, they're not afraid of working, and the beauty of it is that so many of them are just as much in love with the city. You know, because for me it's like you think you live here, you're born here, and you take that love for granted, but it's not like that. It's not like that, and that's so beautiful. You know. And also, this is the first, like we were talking, I see some really positive changes here. We were talking about Vanagat's thing, what he said, you know, be careful of what you pretend to be, because you are who you pretend to be. And maybe this is pretension. Maybe we're pretending to be civil. Maybe we're pretending to be more tolerant and this and that. But but it's the right step. You know, Nietzsche once said, there is no good or evil, there are different degrees of civility, you know, and I believe that deep down inside we're all the same, we're animals, but what differentiates us is that civility, the degrees of civility. And I think this place is becoming more and more civil, you know, especially the young people. It gives me so much hope. So much hope.
Certainly. I don't presume to have the answers, and I suspect you don't also presume to have the answers or the panacea of what it is that we can do as a nation to ensure sovereignty, to ensure independence, to ensure that the people of Armenia have a dignified life, and that the people of the diaspora feel that deep connection that moves beyond emotion and toward more institutional assistance and cooperation. If you had the magic wand in your hand, or as Vahe said, what do you want Armenia to pretend to be?
It's a good question, because for me, nations are like people. You know, they have their own characteristics, they have their own characters, and in Armenia's case, I think the most important thing that I would want Armenia to be is to feel a collective responsibility, because that for me is very, very important. You can, you know, in Zen, I've said this before, I don't know where. In Zen, there's this concept thing where if you're walking down the street and you saw a piece of paper, some trash, and you thought that, oh, well, someone should pick this up, it should be you. Because the moment you realized that this should be done, then you should do it. Why wait for somebody else to do it? And I think in that sense, if we all, as a collective, we feel that responsibility, that there are things that need to be done, and we are all responsible for it. We should do it. Instead of saying, you know, let someone else do it. Why isn't this done? This is one thing that bothers the hell out of me. When people say, why aren't they doing it? And I say, who are they? Who are they? You know, because we are they. If anybody's going to do anything, it's going to be us. So that collective consciousness, that collective sense of responsibility, I think will take this country to a new level of beauty and a state of compassion. Because I truly believe that the essence of everything is compassion. Compassion towards others, compassion towards animals, compassion towards the poor, compassion towards anything and anyone that can use our compassion.
Responsibility and compassion. The two, hopefully, the two mantras that we will live with and for and in the coming years. Vahe Berberian, thank you. Happy Independence Day, happy birthday.
Thank you. And I'm really, it's always good to be here, always good to talk to you.
From me as well.